Hey there, Amy here with Leap of Faith Crafting. Thanks so much for stopping by. So today I thought I would do a quick video on different machines and things that you can use to sublimate tumblers and which ones I think are the best and which one might be right for you. So there are a lot of different products out on the market nowadays to sublimate tumblers. When we first started years ago, there wasn't a whole lot, so now there is a lot to choose from, depending on what size you want to do, cost, things like that. You might be wondering which one is the right one for you. And with holidays coming up, you might want to put one on your wish list, things like that. These are the four I'm going to compare for you because they're the four I have. Just starting off with the smallest, which is the Cricut mug press. So this isn't necessarily a tumbler press, this is specifically for mugs. So if you're just wanting to do mugs, this size, smaller size. I have done tumblers in this before. It just takes a lot longer because you're spinning it and turning it around. But that was before I had any tumbler presses, before they came out and stuff. So Cricut mug press, runs about probably $180 to $200, depending on when you can get it. So if you're just wanting to do mugs, this is a great small compact thing to have that works great. You just push the button and it presses it, does the time for you, no adjustments, nothing like that. So I do love it. I've made lots of mugs with it. So it is something I will pull out if I'm just doing a mug because it is the smallest and easiest thing to get out. Okay, so moving into ones that are specifically designed for tumblers, things like that. So there is an auto press tumbler. The nice thing about an auto press is that you just have to push the button to press it. So this is, and it's relatively compact, it's not super heavy, it's a little bit smaller than the other two. So this one can only do 20-ounce straight tumblers, 30-ounce straight tumblers, and some small mugs. So that is the limitation for this. So you can see, where's one of my, that a 30-ounce can fit in here, and it will, you do have to press once, turn it, and press it again. And usually the press is pretty even. You might have a slight brighter color or duller color, depending on which side you're pressing twice. Let's just show you a 20-ounce. So a 20-ounce can fit in there nicely too. And then a small mug, and you could do 2 small mugs at one time. So and these are, I believe, 12-ounce mugs. So once you get any bigger, they really don't fit in here anymore. So that is the limitation of this, is the things you're going to use. So if you're just wanting to do skinny, straight 20 or 30-ounce tumblers, this would be a great machine and probably your cheapest option. This comes in around $135. $135 to $150 probably, depending on sales and things like that. But I made a lot in here if I'm just doing straight tumblers. But again, they take a little bit longer because you have to rotate them, but it does the pressing and everything for you, so you don't have to worry about pressure. Okay, next one is a tumbler press that actually is not automated. You have to do it yourself. So this one has a handle and you can press on it. It has the knobs that you have to turn to get pretty even and to get a tight press. The one thing with this is you can do a lot more sizes with it if you have the different attachments. So I have 3, I think there's actually maybe 5 that you can get. So the smaller ones, depending on how big you want, up into a 40-ounce one. If you're doing different sizes, you will have to switch them out. So this one, the super small one, can do something like this, the nice glass ones, which this is actually too big for. You couldn't do it on here, but you could do the small one and do a glass tumbler, and then you can do the 20-ounce, the 30-ounce, and then the 40-ounce. The one thing I will say about the 40-ounce that I did this one on here is the top part works great. The bottom part, if you have a tapered one, you're not going to get a real crisp press because this is straight. So you'll get a little less pressing, you know, at the bottom or the top, depending on where you press. This one actually came out relatively well. I made another one that you can really tell that it didn't press very well on the bottom part. But if you're just doing the top, this works great. So, and these will start about $190, and then you get 2 of these that you have to change out. Then if you want to get a 41-ounce one, it's about $80 or so to get just this attachment here. So, and then they have different attachments. Like I said, there's a few more different ones that you can add to it, so you don't have to buy a whole new machine. But this is by hand that you're going to have to push. So you do need to have a little bit of strength to push it closed, and then using your hands to turn knobs and stuff. So just depending on, you know, how your fingers are, how your strength is, grip, things like that, that might be a consideration when you're thinking about this one. Okay, so the next one is a sublimation oven. So this is my newest to my craft room. I just had a video about it that I'll link below. But this one you can see is obviously the biggest one. So depending on how much room you have, that's probably going to be the factor for this one, because these ones are obviously a little bit flatter. Probably depth-wise, they're all about the same, but this one you're going to need more room for. And this is actually just the 12 liter, so this is probably the smallest one. They do come up from there. So the one thing about the oven is you do need a few more items to use it. So you are going to need some kind of a heat gun, embossing gun, something that blows heat. These are run around about $20, $25. And then you're also going to need sleeves or shrink wrap sleeves to put your tumblers in, to shrink wrap them to ensure really good seals on them. And those are relatively cheap and usually will come with tumblers depending on which brand you're buying. So these oven, this size itself starts about $180 and can go up from there. I think the bigger one is about $300. You can also get a bundle that includes this machine. I just saw this online today as I was looking it up for this. So these are gonna vary depending on what time of year and things like that you're looking at it. But I just saw a bundle that included the 12-liter oven, the heat gun, 8 sublimation tumblers, and a tumbler cradle that you put the tumbler in that helps to hold it for $300. So that's actually a pretty decent price for all of it. So I would, you know, if you're looking at these, I would kind of shop around and, you know, price out the bundles and things like that. You are going to need those few extra items when you're starting with this. The cradle, you know, I just started using a cradle, so I've never had one. I've always just used a towel. So that's something that might be extra that you don't need right off the bat. But the nice thing about the oven is that you can do any size. So, you know, you can start with mugs and you can do multiples at a time. This one itself, you could do 2 mugs, or you can do 2 20-ounce tumblers at a time. And then once you get bigger than that, it's 1 at a time. But you can get up to this size that you can put in here. So in the instruction manual, they actually list all the stuff that you can do in here. You can, you know, sublimation dog bowls. You can do any kind of the cups. You can do like pens and things like this that I will be having fun with pretty soon, and I'll have a video on that, sublimating your own pens. Like I said, a lot of different size sublimation glasses and things like that. So that's a great pro to the oven itself, is that you have so many options with it. So with all these machines, when you start out, you are going to need some heat resistant tape. You'll want to use some heat resistant gloves when working with tumblers. You'll need obviously sublimation tumblers, so tumblers that are specific for sublimation. You'll need a sublimation printer, and then sublimation paper, and some butcher paper just to protect your presses and things like that. And I'll list all the stuff below that I use. So again, sublimation oven. If I were to start out and I had the room, I would start with this. I can't believe I haven't had it up until now, because it actually, I mean, it's a little more time consuming just because you have to put a wrap and do that with doing 2 things at a time. It does it in 6 minutes. I can get the other ones ready, put them in right after that. You know, I don't have to worry about, you know, the correct pressure, things like that. I don't have to worry about what size I'm using. So for all of those reasons, this is where I would start. And it is a similar price to this, and you can do so much more with that. but again, it's going to be probably if you have enough room. So this is a bigger machine, and you know, storing it and pulling it out, you're going to have more room for this. If I was just starting out and just wanting to do 20 ounce, 30 ounce skinny straight tumblers, this is a great way to start because it's a little bit cheaper, $135, and it's much smaller and portable, things like that. If I was just doing mugs, the mug press I think is great. I do love that. So probably my least one that I probably am not even going to use really anymore now that I have this is this, just because you have to change out these. If you're doing the same size over and over again, it is great. It goes pretty well. But again, this one you also have to rotate and do the other side too. Both of these you have to rotate. So they do take a little bit longer. Like I said, just getting the biggest bang for your buck. And if you're wanting to branch out in your sublimation to be able to do so many other things, that's what I would put on my list. But like I said, up to you on size and things like that. So again, I will link all of these below, and I hope that helped kind of giving you a little bit of the pros and cons of each machine. And I would love if you hit that subscribe button below so you don't miss any more tutorials, because I will be coming out with quite a few more sublimation, especially with the oven. And thanks so much for stopping by. Happy crafting, everyone.